4th, 2016 regular council meeting to order. Flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Okay, moving on. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 7th, 2016 regular council meeting?
So moved.
Second.
John, Jan. Discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? 6-0. Petitions, communications, citizens' requests. At this time, is there anyone from the audience that would like to discuss an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address. Do we know the email that we received last week from a resident said that she knew you? It was about styrofoam?
Yes.
No, she's not here.
I'm assuming that she would have contacted you.
She said the email sent back to me said she'd be here, so I just didn't know if she was out in the audience. Okay. All right, then. Is there anyone else from the audience? All right. We will move on to reports. Council President, that's me. Stan is on his way. He just texted. So the budget meeting. Our next meeting, Patty, let's make sure it is on Tuesday the 19th because the 18th is a holiday. So the 19th, there will be committee meetings. We'll definitely have a finance committee for sure. Bill will get out a tax levy sheet to the council. He showed me one a couple days ago. He'll get that out to us this week just so we can look at it ahead of time. So we will definitely have that. And I think there was another, I think EJ asked me about putting something on the agenda also about some business signs or some stuff like that. So we'll get advertising. So we will we'll get that on a certain committee too that night. So finance for sure, and then I don't know if it's public affairs for EJ's thing or not, but we'll figure that one out. Okay, the next thing for me, I'm going to do a presentation tonight. Just to give a little background, we do at times, Ron, Harriman, Bill, and myself give out paddles to the city to area businesses. We do that once a month, and we've continued to do that. In the past, we've had some Eagle Scouts and some other people that have done some great things for the city, and we've normally given them a certificate. It was brought to my attention that the gentleman that's in the crowd, Lee Jackson, that's here tonight, that got an award from the his place of employment, McDonald's, and I'm going to come up and talk some more about that. So I had mentioned to Patty about giving out a key to the city, and that's something as chair I've never given out. So Patty has ordered us some keys to the city, so we can. It's a lapel pin, so it's very nice. You can wear, and it's a lot of cities and towns do this, and so I think it's a great idea going forward, and Mr. Jackson is going to be the first recipient of it. So, Lee, I'm going to have you meet me at the podium just so I can go through a few things here. That on? Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. I got to go through my notes because it's been, what was it, 3 weeks ago?
Been a little bit, yeah.
Been a little bit. Took a while to get the keys in. So let me just read this. I had to email the gentleman that had notified me about this for Lee. So Lee Jackson, an employee of the Old Town McDonald's on Monday back then, received the Crew Person of the Year Award, an annual performance-based honor that recognizes the top 25 performing crew in McDonald's restaurants throughout the United States. The McDonald's owners and operators or regional staff nominate employees for the Crew Person of the Year Award to recognize their hard work, dedication, and commitment to McDonald's. Lee was the winner selected for more than 20,000 employees in the McDonald's Boston region. So that's 20,000 employees in the Boston region, which he's a part of, and he got selected. This is a very, very big honor. He received $1,000 from McDonald's and Old Town restaurant owner-operator Rich Hogan. So they matched that, if I remember it correct.
Yes.
Yes. And a plaque at a surprise award presentation attended by U.S. Senator Susan Collins was there. Jim Dill was there. Some other representative people were there as well. So, Lee, This time I'd like to present the first key to the city to you. Congratulations.
So much.
This is a tremendous honor for you and very, very proud of you.
Well, thank you so much.
So I know you want, let's get some pictures. Good. And I know you want to speak for a few minutes. Thank you.
This is great. President Mahan, distinguished members of the council, city staff, and citizens of Old Town, thank you for this enormous honor. I am humbled to stand in front of you today to accept this key to the city. I accept this key on behalf of everyone who has supported my efforts, those who have encouraged me, and those who have worked beside me. This is an honor to be shared with my loved ones and supporters, for which I am fully aware I would not be where I am without the tremendous support I've received from this great community. My roots are here in Old Town, where my grandparents and great-grandparents lived and worked for decades. My mother brought our family home to this city when I was in 4th grade. At the time, I left a school district that struggled with racism and bullying, and I was welcomed with open arms into Old Town Elementary School. I see this moment as a significant turning point in my life and a decision for which I'll be forever grateful. Thanks, Mom. From that day forward, I was raised and nurtured not only by my mother and my grandparents, but this great community. I have been mentored through great organizations like the River Coalition and the Old Town Kiwanis, and provided with opportunities to serve others. The coaches and leaders of the recreational program and the YMCA, through the Old Town Track Club and the Canoe City Swim Team, taught me the meaning of hard work and never giving up. The schools in Old Town showed me that a learning disability didn't have to be a roadblock to economic success. The education I received at these schools have brought me to the University of Maine and opened up a world of opportunity. Like many before me, I owe a debt to this city that I'll never be able to repay. Anyone who knows me understands that this key will be one of my most prized possessions. They also know that this day is one of the brightest days of my life. However, these are not the brightest days for our fine city. Tonight, in Old Town, a child will go to bed hungry, a single mother will stay up late worrying about her children's future and how she's going to be able to afford to send them to college. A senior citizen will pray for warmer weather because she does not have enough money to buy more heating oil or choose between buying food and her prescription medicine. And a school board member will contemplate the very real issues of declining enrollment, lower state subsidies, and how far he can stretch a dollar. Over the past 175 years, what has made Old Town great was not a paper mill, a sports championship banner and a parade, or a lack of adversity. What has consistently made our community flourish is the countless number of citizens who refuse to rest in the face of a challenge. Determined citizens who believe that a combination of respect for our past and a renewed spirit can raise Old Town to which it was meant to be, a shining city on the banks of a great river. As hard as we might try, the challenges and difficulties affecting our citizens will not be solved by the dedication of the members in this chamber alone. It takes a community to raise champions, and it will take the whole community to raise us back up. Many of Maine's struggling cities and towns look towards Washington, D.C. and Augusta to solve the problems Mainers are facing. Unfortunately, the gridlock of partisan politics is blocking the basic operations of government. Coupled with passage of one unfunded mandate after next, this will require greater commitment, leadership, and involvement from the people, the municipality, and our leaders. While Augusta and Washington will never bail us out, the problems Old Town facing don't have to be fought alone. The origins of our resurgence will spring from you, from me, and our neighbors. Neither party has a monopoly on good ideas, but that's one of the beauties about local municipal government. There is no D nor R next to your name, simply the two words, Old Town. While Maine communities work towards a more regional style of government, I call on the governor and the legislature to work together to empower Maine cities as we rise to meet our obligations, educate our children, care for our seniors and veterans, and rebuild our economies. In these trying economic times, we must meet the needs of our communities without raising pressure on our individual property owners, families, and local businesses. As I ponder these challenges, I look towards other young local leaders with innovative ideas. Bangor City Councilor Benjamin Sprague has proposed allowing municipalities to levy their own sales tax up to 1%. This idea has merit, it's innovative, and deserves a second look. It's ideas like Ben's combined with an adjustment in our style of government that allow Old Town and other cities like it to flourish. Margaret Mead, an American cultural anthropologist, once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing it ever has." I think this quote can be interpreted and amended to describe our current situation in Maine. Never doubt that a diverse group of committed Mainers can provide the solutions we need. In fact, it's the only thing that can. You do not need me to tell you that Maine's state motto is "Dare Go, I Lead." With the empowerment of our children, our families, and our seniors, along with everyday Mainers, we can all lead our towns and families to the path to prosperity. Once again, thank you for this honor and the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Now let's get back to work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We are moving on to standing committees. Anybody? Sorry that the last committee meetings that Dawn and myself both couldn't make it. So I do have some questions on a couple of the items tonight where we weren't here on that night. Anybody on any? Okay. City councilors. What do we have coming up on anything? Nothing? Big events? No, nothing. Okay. City attorney, he's here somewhere.
Quiet.
That's a good thing. Special committees. School board liaison. City manager.
Just to follow up a couple items on the budget. Miles and I are currently working on revenues. Hopefully in the next week or so, should get back information on that. We're still working with Maine Revenue Services with Dave Ledoux and Mike Rogers on our sudden and severe application and some different insurance options. So hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll have a better handle on that, which could have a fairly large impact on our municipal revenue sharing going into this year. So, and Perk and Fiber Rights still going on. I've got several more documents that I plan on sending out to you folks tomorrow. I'm just trying not to flood you with too much stuff all at once, but just a heads up, there's some more stuff coming your way.
So we should probably add that on the finance agenda also to talk about that
Yep.
some more
Yep.
on that night. So,
Yep. And that's it for me.
okay, any questions for Bill? Like I said, Bill later this week will get us our first copy of the tax levy sheet where we're looking right now. Okay, we will move on to consent agenda. New business items number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Council McLeod.
Resolve the Old Town City Council hereby approves suggested motions on new business. Number 1, the council be accepting a deadline redemption foreclosure property for George. I'm not going to pronounce that name right. Thank you. 14 Hill Street for real estate taxes and sewer fees for 2016. Number 2, the council accepts a deadline redemption foreclosure property for Gary and Mary Karam, located 14 Free Street, and for 2013 through 2016 real estate taxes. Number 3, the city council accepts a deadline redemption of foreclosure property for Patricia Gauthier, located at 104 VZ Street, for payment for 2013 through 2016 real estate taxes. Excuse me. Number 4, the council accepts an application from Fred Nickerson on behalf of Old Town Club, Scout Pack 76, for activities to be held in Sewell Park and waiving the fee. Number 5, the council approves a renewal application for a malt vinous beverage cart liquor license for the Hidden Meadows Golf Course. Number 6, the council accepts donations from the Old Town Community Food Drive. That's it.
Yes. So is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Carol, discussion? Okay, no discussion? Hearing that, all in favor? Stan, in favor? Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Okay, moving on to public hearings and second reading of ordinances. There are none. Old business, none. New business, so we will jump to number 7. City Council consider changes to the existing business loan program and creation of a new business equipment loan program. Councilor Roach.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves the amended business loan program and the creation of the business equipment loan program as recommended by the LLC and presented by the Economic Development Director. The council further authorizes the city manager to cite the necessary participation agreements and related documents with local lenders.
Okay, is there a second? Second. And discussion. Hi, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How are you tonight? I know this came in front of the committee, I want to say a few months ago. I think you brought it to us, did you, Finance Committee?
I did just mention it. We didn't go over it in any amount of detail. But I have been working with the LLC for quite a while to try to make some suggested changes and recommendations just to make this program as efficient and effective as we possibly can so that it's works well as an economic development tool for the city.
Right. I just have a couple questions. I read down through everything. So, and I came later than I normally do tonight, so I got to talk to Bill just for a few minutes. So the program as it stands now, it goes through the LLC approves it, or is this that Miles approves it? If I go to apply for a loan tomorrow, how does that work?
It actually hasn't been used since I've been on board. And
So the
so-
things we get monthly, those are all older.
those are loans that have been made in the past. To my knowledge, there are 4 outstanding loans at this time.
Correct, that's correct, yes. Yep.
So what we'd like to suggest is a program that doesn't rely so heavily on the city and the city's resources to sometimes make the difficult decisions, but to work with area lenders and let them do what they do best, to do the credit checks and to do the underwriting and check credit scores and so forth. But the applicant would probably still be, in most cases, procured through the city and through our efforts. And the applicant and the information would still come back to the LLC and then ultimately to the council for approval. But it wouldn't be Miles or the city that would be tracking those loans on a monthly basis and sending delinquent notices in some cases. That could all be handled by the lender. So it would be a partnership, and we have been working closely with Penobscot Federal Credit Union and Camden National Bank. We've reached out to all lenders in the community, but those 2 have stepped forward and said that they would be very interested in working with us.
Okay, so thank you, Ron. In the past, what did we do as far as, so it sounds like it's been a while, what did we do in the past for these people when they applied? We didn't do credit checks, we didn't do any of that stuff, we just basically,
Yeah, I mean, they were UDAG loans. One thing that this does as a function of it, and I know sometimes it can be a struggle for a council in determining if someone's delinquent in a loan, how are you going to handle that? And if you read down through, or Ron wants to explain the business loan program, it's going to function basically as the bank would function. So it's going to take away some of the onus off you folks as far as us coming back and saying someone's 2 months behind, or 3 months behind, or 4 months behind.
so the local lender, whoever we pick, or the LLC picks, the local lender would be the one that would be in charge of that, calling them up saying that the payment's late,
If there was a
that type of thing.
Yeah, if there was a collection issue, it would follow their standards. Ultimately, it would come back to us and come back to Eric to collect that. But it would kind of take the council out of the process of having to determine when and if they wanted to do that.
I mean, I like that idea, that part of it, and this is just me speaking, I like that part of it, but I just was a little concerned that this is gonna change the criteria of someone getting a loan, whereas in the past, this has made it easier for businesses to come to the city and get a loan. So I'm a little nervous that going this route, the criteria now, we're setting to another level.
Actually,
That's got, as a small business owner now, that's got even me a little nervous about that.
but actually, what we're proposing leaves all of that in place. All of the attractiveness of the program is still there, and the program is still designed to not in any case provide more than 50% of the funding that's needed.
Okay. That's what it's always been?
That's what it's always been. And, but we want safeguards in place. It's still the city that's making the decision. It's not a lender. We're not turning money over to a lender and letting them make unilateral decisions to loan the city's money.
So the money's still staying in-house with us?
Well, the decision-making, the final decision-making remains with us. And then once a loan is made, that money is provided to the lending institution, which is no different than now if we make a loan. I mean, the loan money is going to go wherever it would finally end up in any case. So we still maintain the decision-making, but all of the preliminary work is done by the lender. As I say, they're doing the credit check, they're doing all the underwriting, and then they would present the package back to the LLC to make a recommendation to you folks. But all of that monthly work, to track the loans and so forth, or in some cases to say no, is the lending institution would make the recommendation. They have too poor a credit score. We don't recommend that this loan go forward.
What's in it for the lending institution?
They would get whatever their normal interest rate would be. And then we could choose an investment vehicle of our choice. It might be a 1% money market rate, and then they would charge, we'll say in that scenario, 4% rate.
What do we charge now when they borrow from the city? Do we charge an interest rate now if they borrow?
The way the guidelines are written, it would be, it says the loans would be prime, but then it says the LLC would recommend a rate above prime. So it can be, I think, at our discretion now, the way I understand the guidelines.
But it won't be if a lending institution takes over. It's going to be their guidelines.
But it would be whatever that competitive interest rate is. And I know Brent is here from Camden National, not to put Brent on the spot, but perhaps you'd like to chime in.
Sit right beside Ron.
See, my concern is, this has been an ongoing thing for many, 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 many years, and I don't think we've been stuck that many times with an unpaid loan. And I know it can be a pain sometimes when you look at this as far as getting money back once we've lended out money, but as we said before, we're one of the few communities, if probably one of 2 or 3 communities, that still have UDAG money because people have paid it back. Mm-hmm. And I'm afraid that if we've got people out there, citizens out there, small business owners, who could come in and sit down with the LLC and say, I don't have the best credit in the world, but this is what I got planned, and I'm hoping that I can have a few steps up so I can get this done, and I know I can pay you back. I just sort of...
But that is still the purpose and the intention is to provide loans when it doesn't exceed 50% of the total needed, when it is a loan for that gap financing, or perhaps when a borrower exceeds the debt-to-income ratio that's a bank typically likes to see, or it may be a bridge loan. Would that be your understanding?
Yes.
From our discussions, Brent?
When Ron came to me, Linda, and we started talking about this back in October and talking about a business program, loan program, we talked about different ways of how a bank underwrites a loan. And simple is that we ask for financials. A potential borrower should be able to produce financials, a prospective cash flow and what the business is going to generate, that they've done their homework and they understand that they just don't have an idea and that they want to open a business, that they've done their homework and they understand what it takes to make money. And so with that, a couple of years' worth of tax returns, personal tax returns, along with a business plan. And then they come to us and we do an underwriting process and pull a credit on them. And banks, whether it's Camden National or Penobscot County Federal Credit Union, have minimum standards as to credit score, as to generally if you fall below the minimum credit score, there's probably a good chance that you're not going to pay or pay on time. And then what the credit report should also reveal, if that credit score is that below that minimum, is that in fact there are charge-offs, there is chronic delinquency within that person's credit history for whatever the reason might be. Again, we'll underwrite it, we'll put together the proposal. It just comes back to, via Ron, to the LLC for presentation as to whether they decide that they want to go ahead or not.
What if you as the bank decided that this is not a good option and you shouldn't loan the money? And we decide that we're going to do it regardless?
It's 100% collateralized, which means that the bank isn't going to lose on it. For the 90 days, Linda, that the bank is going to have it on their books before it gets turned back to the city. And then from there, it goes to Eric for collection. But if it hasn't paid in 90 days, it probably isn't going to pay. There has been a number of, I've been involved in the city for a long time, and, there's been a number of UDAG loans that have gone bad over the years. They just closed their doors and stopped paying.
So at least it sounds like if, like, I did point out the credit, if it doesn't look good on your end, Brent, that the LLC and the council still could decide to.
Absolutely, they could. It's 100% collateralized. It goes above, because Ron and I had a great discussion about that over, a couple of weeks, and the fact that the whole purpose of it is to put economic development into this community and dress up the community and bring business into the community. And a lot of people have great ideas, and they have, but they just don't have the credit behind them to do that. Again, life gets in the way sometimes of credit, and people can overcome that and move forward. And, I think, and at 50%, it's a chance, but at 50%, you're investing in the community.
Is this 57,000? Is that what we're that's our total UDAG that we have, right?
I'm not,
You don't have the paper in front of you.
Well, it shows
Yeah,
I think it's showing
balance.
it's showing a balance
How much money, that's the balance that's out right now?
Yeah.
Is that-
Yeah.
So what do we have for
Thought it was a
UDAG?
couple $100,000, $300,000-$400,000.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
And
I don't have
so-
that
It's
total.
like 400,000, we turned it over to the LLC
Yeah.
and stopped calling it UDAG.
Yeah, we
Right.
did, yeah.
That's correct.
We said it's money for the
So,
LLC.
so is that,
development
are we
committee.
considering all that UDAG money now, or loan money?
well, I know that this has always been a little point of confusion, that what was UDAG money, I guess, is, maybe this is a better question for Bill.
That got rolled over into the city's
Yeah,
fund
so,
balance,
so is it,
unappropriated fund balance.
Right.
And so Miles tracks those dollars, so they're there. And I believe he set up some type of reserve account. So as Ron started explaining how this money is spent, ultimately, for that to be spent, we have to come back and show this whole package through to the end, which you folks are the only ones who can spend money out of that account. We have not taken money and allowed the LLC or authorized them
Yeah.
to spend
Right, so we didn't actually give the LLC
No.
$400,000?
No.
No, okay.
And there have been a number of commitments that have been made by the council from that pot of money
Right.
during the past year, from extending fiber and
Right.
facade grants and so forth. So as near as I can figure right now, going into the next fiscal year, there'll be around $200,000 remaining. So to me, that's another reason why we want to be real smart about making any loans.
With the remaining money.
And we, we want to make sure that they've got at least an adequate credit score and that they meet what a bank typically wants to see for underwriting requirements. And I think that there will be cases where we want to stretch that a little bit if it's, and take a chance on somebody that we think has got a decent track record.
That's what worries me, is that I think we've taken a chance, and for the most part, we've been pretty lucky.
Been lucky.
I think we have been.
And we want to maintain that ability to do that.
And we had one that was on the books for a long time, and that's paid off. And so what is the interest rate these people are paying right now? The people that have loans out, do we know what the interest rate? They must be paying interest.
On the UDAG loans
Yeah.
row, yes.
Do we know what it
I'd have
is?
to go back and look and see what each one of those
I-
ones
Pretty low.
Yeah, and so I'm interested to know if it will be higher, do you think now?
I don't know what those loans are written at. I think
No, I
they're
know, but-
prime plus, and at that time, I don't know if it's a prime rate that varies every month, or I'm not certain, Councilor May, how that was set up.
I was kind of wondering
Yeah.
before coming into tonight because I thought this might be on the last finance committee, but it wasn't. As you mentioned it to us before.
Mhm.
I was kind of throw out the suggestion of tabling this to our next meeting, just so it gives us time to wrap our. I wanted to ask some questions tonight, but I also wanted to
Mhm.
take it all in tonight. Would that be a problem if we table this to the next meeting?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, that way we could find out, like you said, find out some interesting things. And I'm
Yeah.
still trying to take everything in, just to, with that.
I think just
Carol-
the interest rates alone, I would be very interested
Yeah.
in.
If we're gonna end up with a higher interest rate, I mean, the idea is to help develop these people, and if we put an intermediary in place that causes a higher rate on the for them to pay it back, it burdens them even higher on the payback.
Generally, Wall Street Journal Prime today is 3.5%. So if the UDAG loans were made at, and they've been on the books for a while, Carol, then the fact that they are indeed probably at a higher rate than that, only because Wall Street Journal Prime's been at 3.25 since March of 2009, when the Feds raised the rate in December 25 basis points. But prior to that, Prime was 5, 6, 7, 8%. So I think you could see some of those UDAG loans, if they are at Prime, they could be in that, and they've been on the books for a while, they could be at that rate. It very well could be at that rate. But again, I believe that for discussion purposes, we were talking Prime plus a half, which would be 4 today. Prime plus a quarter, 3.75.
So we felt that any addition to the prime rate or the rate that the bank would charge would amount to something, but it would be fairly negligible when amortized over a 10-year period.
Mhm.
The only other question I had is if the borrower would want to, they would present the loan, their idea to the LLC or the bank?
Well, we wanted, again, to try to make this process as expeditious and kind of user-friendly as possible. So the route we were recommending is that the applicant we would refer them to one of the participating lenders, and then they would go through that whole process of interviewing and obtaining all the information. And we weren't going to require them to, again, make an appearance with the LLC, but the LLC would want to see a package with the critical information so that they can make an informed decision, including things like credit scores and collateral and all those things. So,
Would you have a committee, or would the whole LLC see it? Would there be a committee? I mean, a lot of that is, that's
Personal information.
personal.
there would be a committee, yes.
Yeah, because
yes.
I'm in like a bank wouldn't give it out. you know, if someone went to apply for a loan, the bank wouldn't give that to anyone, and
That's right.
so there one would think there'd be a committee on the LLC that would do that.
I think that would be the best way to do it. And I think then again, we probably, I don't know that you'd want that applicant to appear in a public forum at
No,
a
that's
city
right.
council meeting.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
awkward.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
think
That's
that
why.
instead of having all 15 members
And-
see the information,
Right.
maybe it's just one or two. That's why for me, taking this all in tonight,
And
if
then
we have to vote on this, I'd vote no, 'cause I gotta
and then if
think
it's
about it.
denied, you know, by the bank and the LLC, does the council get to know that? That's what I'm wondering. If it's somebody that, you know,
My next question there is, do we want to afford some due process to come and talk about it?
We could certainly structure it that way. I mean, it's not the LLC's intention to keep any secrets from.
no,
Right.
that's
No,
what
no,
I
no,
mean,
right.
but, you know, if it, like we said before, we might afford them a little bit more flexibility than
Yep.
which we have in the past. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Carol, part of the underwriting process would be an underwriting approval, and it's a package. And the package, along with a signed release by the potential borrower, signed at the bank, and he or she realizes that this package, a denial or an approval, will come back to the LLC. The financial information is there. That's part of the underwriting package, so it's there. And you can't hide that.
No, I'm,
You know.
yeah, but I mean,
It's just the more people that see it. As
Right.
Carol said,
I
if
wouldn't
just
want
one or two-
to, as on the council, I would want to take someone's word for it and not see all that. I mean, you know.
Right. You guys have a problem if we table this until the next meeting?
I
so we
think it's a
can-
good idea. I like that.
Another question?
Absolutely.
So I got my brain wrapped around this right. Let's say Stan Peterson wants to open a Cold Stone in town, and I want to borrow $50,000 to renovate the store or whatever. Are we saying that the LLC will give the bank $20,000 of that, and the bank will put $30,000, and the bank will take and collect on the loan?
Essentially, that could happen, just like that scenario. But first off, if an applicant is going to the bank and if they're bankable for the entire amount needed, that's the route they'll most likely go. We only come into the picture if there's a need to bridge that gap.
Okay, so say David Mahan, not Stan Peterson was going to come.
Wow.
But it could work that way, or the bank would just take, let's say I only needed $20,000, the bank we'd give the $20,000 to the bank, and they take care of all that, because I'm a more at-risk person, and they'll process it for us for nothing?
They're getting their standard interest rate, and it's
So
guaranteed.
we give the bank the interest rate, the city, we get no interest.
Well, the city could get some return. I mean, we get to select what that return would be, and that would be added to their base lending rate.
We had talked about putting that use the $20,000 Stan. We're going to talk about putting that $20,000 into an investment. And again, trying to match that against the term of if the customer wants a 5-year loan, then we'd probably put that $20,000 in a 5-year investment. And so therefore, again, when the customer pays the loan off in full at the bank, the $20,000 comes back to the city because it doesn't need to be held anymore. Or if they pay it off in 2 years, it comes back to the city. And that's how the revolving loan pool continues, plus the little bit of interest that it's earning.
One of those scenarios, if I needed 50 and the bank was only good for 30, we could put another 20 in an investment at the bank, and the person could get the 50.
50,
to open the
yeah.
Cold
Yeah.
Stone if they wish.
Yeah,
And we get our money back as the loan is repaid.
you know.
We get it back in a lump sum? or
Well,
we get that as
we
a loan?
Incrementally.
We talked about maybe on a yearly basis, even a 6-month basis, they've paid down X amount, free up, put it back into write a check back to the city again. We don't want to keep the money, you know, it's.
Sure you do.
We want to give it out.
I'm opening Cold Stones, and I need the Cold Stone for my restaurant. So the way I read the second part is the city's putting up 30,000 to subsidize interest rates. So in that case, we'd go to the bank and borrow the money, and it might be 5% for the 20,000, so my interest is gonna be, let's round figure say $6,000 over the course of the loan. I could go to the city and pick up $5,000 to offset that $6,000, so I don't have to pay $1,000 in interest?
Now, what Stan is discussing is the second part. I was recommending, and the LLC was recommending that we put an amount of money with the participating lenders to be used for a business equipment loan program. And this would be, again, an economic development tool. Any prospective business, invariably, the first question is, is there anything available that could help me get started? Right. And I've seen this work effectively in other areas, similar type programs. It's not a real big thing, but it does, it is big if you're opening a new business and you need a little boost. And so what's being proposed is a borrower can go to the lender or actually they would come to the city, and if they're a qualified business, we would sign off and say, yes, they're eligible for the city's equipment loan program, and they can get their interest rate subsidized by 3 percentage points. So if a business equipment loan would typically be 7-8%, in some cases.
How about 4.5 to 5?
I know they're all over the place from time to time. Then we could write that down 3 percentage points, and that's really a huge thing for a new business or an existing business that needs to buy a new computer system or something like that. As long as the assets are put into service in Old Town, this is something, depending on how long they amortize their equipment loan for, would probably typically be $1,000 to $4,000. I wouldn't expect that most borrowers would max out on the limit of $5,000 in interest subsidy credit. It would really depend on how much they borrow and what the term is.
We currently have one of those programs in place with another surrounding community, and I've probably done a half a dozen with them over the past year, and the fact that some of them's been for a couple of delivery trucks, equipment within their business, etc. It's approved by they go to the town first. It's approved. They come to us. They borrow them. They're approved for the loan. They borrow the money. There's some additional paperwork that needs to be filled out, and then what happens is that interest check is cut from the city, on the anticipated interest that it's going to be for the period of time. It's not in the control of the individual. It's in the control of the bank in an account, and what happens is we set up an AFT. We require 2 AFTs. We require one for the monthly payment coming out of the borrower's checking account for the full monthly payment. And then if it's a 3-year loan and it's figured out to be $1,000, we set up a 3-year AFT for the interest portion to hit that as well. Actually, what's happened is the customer is prepaying the loan because they're paying their regular loan payment, plus they're paying the interest subsidy back on the loan as well. So they're getting their loan paid off sooner, and they're going off to do bigger and better things. It's worked, as I said, probably a half a dozen or so.
My thought is that we just need some tools to give us a competitive edge.
No, I agree on that part. So hearing all this, my recommendation would be, just me, that we table this item to the May 2nd meeting in May, and then this item could be put on the Finance Committee at this next one on the 4/19, just so the Finance Committee could work with you guys, come back in again, maybe throw some of these suggestions around again here and everything tonight, and get everything hammered out on the Finance Committee. Then we come back on May 2nd, and it's right back. We'll just take it off the table at that point and decide whether we want to do it or not. But at least that gives I know for me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. There's a lot of good suggestions here tonight, but I myself couldn't raise my hand to vote for it just because there's too much new stuff coming in tonight. So is there a motion to table this into the May 2nd, 2016 meeting?
So moved.
Okay, so Jan, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. I'm sorry, opposed. EJ, I'm sorry. Yes, it'll be on the Finance Committee. And EJ, you were opposed, correct? Yep. 6-1. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, guys. Okay, moving on to number 7.
8.
8, thank you. City Council will consider new sewer rates. It's a 5% increase for the 2016-2017 fiscal year as recommended by the Citizens Sewer Advisory Board. This increase is necessary to help cover the cost of replacement of 3 aging pump stations. Councilor May.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves 5% sewer rate increase for the 2016-2017 fiscal year effective July 1, 2016, as recommended by the Citizens Sewer Advisory Board and presented in Attachment 1.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Linda, discussion. I know this was discussed at the last committee meeting, and I couldn't be here for that, so I do have some questions. This is one I threw a couple Bill before we started. So this would be a user fee increase.
Yes.
The paperwork that was with us, it shows the current rate of $71 per quarter, and so a 5% increase would mean $74.60.
Yes,
So
and that's actually just the minimum users.
that's the minimum users.
Yes.
Okay. So my next question is, Bill, are we, as far as this, or you, Dave, you might be able to answer this, as far as being in the black or in the red, I know in the past we've had to take from reserves. Is that, where are we at with that budget?
Yeah, the last couple of years, not that they're borrowing a lot, but they are getting into reserves now. This has been discussed for, at least at the Sewer Advisory Board level, I want to say for 4 to 5 years now.
And I knew at some point it was coming, and I know now that I don't work at the university, a lot more people come to see me now, so I hear from a lot of the citizens. So the last 2 weeks, my doors have been flying open because depending on what happens with the school, I haven't heard, when I talked to the superintendent a couple weeks ago, it was still over a $400,000 problem of lack of funding. The city, we're going to start talking about ours, but I know this is a user fee, but this would be like a third hit to the citizens. So so they have been borrowing from reserves already. Now the Sewer Advisory Board, when they okayed this, they ask about my understanding is they might have asked about going back and looking at that.
He did, one of them did, yes.
Looking at combining.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Combining about checking that out. I remember at the time, I know we brought it to the council, I think the cost from the city was going to be $10,000.
To start with, yes.
To start with. And that was a look to see about combining us with
the Old Town Water District and I think Milford.
and Milford, and see if there would be any savings at all.
Yeah.
So, this is just for this year, or is this a?
This is not just for this
multi-year?
year. This is going to be I'm going to come back next year and the year after that.
Asking for the same thing?
Yes.
So my question, and I wish I was here a couple weeks ago because I would have asked it then. I hate to put you guys on the spot now. If we would have done this study, would we have learned anything? Would we? I mean, I'm sure we probably still need an increase, but would it have to be this much and for 3 years in a row?
I don't know if Bill can answer it better than I could, but all I know is before I was hired, you had the water district superintendent work for us, and I don't think he could see it. So.
And that was, we were just paying one person to run both water and.
The water district had their guy, and we paid the water district for his services. And I think he was supposed to try to get this thing going. I don't know, am I correct on this?
Essentially, when you look at what's happened since we've started discussing that study being done.
Right.
Before that happened, there were a couple positions that weren't filled at the wastewater plant. Since he's retired and gone to Mars Hills now, that half position wasn't filled, and we've had one more retirement. So you're down to 4. There's 4 people at the wastewater treatment plant.
Right, so actually when Frank had moved on, we never really, you basically took on, you still do some of your duties, but you took on the additional director
Yes.
duties as well. So
Yep.
we really didn't replace that.
We didn't. In the last 4 years, there's been three guys either retired or don't work there anymore, and we haven't replaced any of them. So we're down 3.
Right.
I personally, when you look at studies, I mean, Wright Pierce has looked at our rates, looked at comparable sized plants. You're not gonna have less people. I mean, 85-90% of our cost is no different than a private business. I mean, it's in personnel, and we're certainly fortunate that we have a lot of folks with a lot of experience who are down there, and they're very capable. But you're not gonna run that size facility with less than 4 people. It just can't happen.
And the study, even if we had started it at that time, wouldn't even be, it would only, we
Right.
probably wouldn't even have results yet. And then, and the increase is gonna have to happen eventually anyway.
That's what it sounds
when
like
they
we're in
come
the
in and
red.
look at that, Wright Pierce comes in and basically looks at the condition of the plant. They look at capital that's gonna be out in the future. And they're also looking at pump station replacements, and that's what those rates are based off from. And, you haven't had a rate increase in Old Town since 2003.
In which I don't get me wrong, I totally understand that, and I think that on a, if you want to say the word a normal year, probably I wouldn't be thinking 2 or 3 times about this, but I know with the school issues, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with the city. I mean, this is, once again, this is a hit to the taxpayers, a third hit to the taxpayers. So I'm trying to look at it as, it's one big pie no matter how you look at it. Any questions?
Well, I think we need to see where we're gonna sit at the budget. I mean, I hate to table it, but we don't know where we sit. I would like to see the whole pie.
Is there a problem with tabling this till May or June? I mean, we've gone this far so long. I mean,
Because it wouldn't go into effect anyway until this next budget year.
because by June, we're going to know where everybody's at. And if you went back to the if you're saying 3 years at 5% each, so there's no plan of, you could do like a 2% for further years out. I mean, you have to have
You
it
could
by-
do it, Miles could probably answer that question better than I could. But you guys can do it however you want, probably.
I mean, I know when I read the numbers, like when I say $3, some people might say that's not that much, but if you add in what's could happen with a school and what could happen here, it all adds together.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And you're gonna
Yeah.
have a water rate increase this year
Yeah,
of 21%, not 5.
not 5. Yeah.
So there's the 4th hit.
It may be, but that fourth hit, that's gonna also impact your fire hydrant rentals here too, so it's all interrelated.
I kind of like John's idea about tabling this until, maybe we could do it the first meeting in June, or maybe May. We can set it to May, and if we didn't find all the information out, we could do it again till June, just so we can see the budget and try to see what's happening with the school, and then maybe with RSU, and then maybe during that time you could talk to Miles about, does it have to be 5%? Could it be something less for an extended
You
period?
can always go less.
And go extend it out, though, I'm saying.
For every year that you don't increase it, and that's fine, every year you don't increase that 5%, you're gonna
Gonna
be
be digging into
getting
your
back
revenue.
into your
Yeah.
reserve funds.
Yep.
So just going 2% for 7 years isn't gonna do it.
I wouldn't advise you do that, but
So 5% is basically, 5% is going to get us out of the red, starting next year.
It'll start, yeah.
And keeping the reserve, if there's a major catastrophe going on, which can happen, we've got the reserves to back it. Something should happen.
if you wanna wait, I mean, that's fine, we can wait to see what the whole budget picture is, but I would strongly suggest that and I can get you the Wright Pierce rate study if you wanna see what their, recommendations are.
Is this that's their recommendation, the 5% for the next several years?
Yes, they were recommending a 5 or 6% for 4 years.
5 or 6% for 4 years?
Yes.
This was the minimum amount that they would tell you to do, to keep everything whole.
I still like John's idea of tabling it. But we can vote on it tonight, whatever you guys want to do. Does anybody agree with tabling this budget, so we can raise our hands now?
It doesn't become, I guess I don't know how it's gonna help us to table it, because I think we're gonna end up putting it through anyway. That's just what I think.
That's what I think.
And it's not effective and, you know. But we can hold it off a month, I suppose, but.
What do you want to do, a motion to table it? We can vote on it right now. I like the idea of tabling it, but I'm going to vote against
I
it.
don't think we can change the law. We've got to take care of it. You can spend it right down to nothing and let the manholes collapse, but you've got to have money to take care of that. If we don't take care of it, somebody's gonna step in and take care of it for us and charge us for it.
Well, like I said, like Bill said, we've been borrowing from reserves. I'm not saying not to do anything this year, but I just think if we hold off to wait and see what the bigger pie looks like, and maybe we can go a little less this year and maybe increase more next year. This is a critical year for us this year, depending on what happens with the RSU and some other things. I just think that we should hold off to see. Seems like the majority wants to vote on it, from what I can tell. So,
Patty, I just want to clarify, is there a motion to table? Did you officially make a motion to table it?
okay, the motion to table it from John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Carol. I'm sorry, Jan. Sorry about that.
Change names.
A discussion? All those in favor? 2 opposed? That takes care of that. Okay. 5-2. So we'll go back to the original motion, correct? Patty?
Yes.
Yep. So no more discussion on this, and we're at item number 8. 1 second, so discussion. All those in favor for the original motion? Okay. Opposed? 5-2. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to number 9. The City Council consider entering into an agreement with Stan Tech for a scope of work for release and sale of 3 lots of airport property. Councilor Peterson.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves entering into an agreement with Stan Tech for the amount of $27,880 for a scope of work for the release and sale of 3 lots of the airport property. Funds are to come from the Airport Hangar Reserve account number 03560.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I don't understand what this is all about.
Yeah, I'd like to
think
know
that-
where the properties are and.
Bill, are you speaking on this one tonight?
I thought we already,
We
Looks like I am.
discussed
I don't
it
see
at the,
Lance out there in the crowd.
no, we
Was this
passed
at the,
it.
was this passed at the finance?
We didn't pass it.
no, we didn't pass anything. We couldn't do
Did you-
anything at the finance.
But did you talk about it?
Yes,
Yeah, we talked
we
about
did.
Was Lance here and presented?
Yep.
Yep.
Um,
You presented, did Lance?
Well,
Lance?
both, a little bit of both. Basically where the business park is, which is right across from the city garage.
Yes.
There's 3 lots along the road. There's 2 lots on the crosswind runway. So, and Ron can attest to this, in trying to get businesses there, he's been kind of stonewalled with folks due to the fact that with the FAA regulations, with those being held, that they can only lease the land there. And what this cost is, and I've got a copy of Stan Tech's proposal here, that also includes 2 commercial appraisals of those properties. And what this would allow, this work, is that Stan Tech would approach the FAA about releasing those 3 lots in that approved business park to the city, so we could actually sell those lots to prospective businesses.
So, I'm not still sure where they are. I know I'm dense, I'm spatially challenged, but where are they exactly, these 3 lots?
Yeah, right, you know where the city garage is?
Yeah.
They're right across the street.
That's what I thought. So they're not, they're on that airport road?
Yes.
$1 million road?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Trying to get some of
Okay.
that back.
Yeah, but we own all that property, right? We own all that property out
511
there?
acres at the airport that we
Yeah,
own.
and do we have someone that wants to buy them?
Um,
Come right up to the mic. I guess I once again, we were.
And
at
if
this
we,
meeting.
right now, we could lease them, right?
Well, we could lease them, but
That's what we're
that's
doing.
always been an issue with someone coming up there to build a new building on that. To have a business there that's been part of the problem that Ron's had in trying to develop those lots. Certainly the two lots that, in talking with the Airport Advisory Committee, the two lots that are on the crosswind runway, if there was ever a maintenance hangar or someone who wanted to start a business airport related, those lots are still there along the runway, so someone could connect off in the runway.
Did the airport advisory recommend this?
Yes.
If you spend the 27,000 and you sell 3 lots for 40,000 apiece, that's 120,000 back.
Yeah, yeah.
Been trying to lease them since the $1 million road was put in, and you can see how many we've leased.
I know, but the problem, if you lease it, you have control what goes on it, too. If you sell it, right?
You still have control.
Well, we still have-
Well, you have ordinance, I know that, but you still, it's not as, I'm just curious. I'm not a big fan of selling city land, as you know, so I'm just curious.
We,
Selling the land to.
It would be selling.
They're not selling it,
Other
they're
side
making
is,
it
if
so
you
we
sell it, you
could
can
sell
tax
it.
it.
we,
If you putting something, if you're increasing the tax base,
I know, I know.
Right.
we met with FAA official, and they, and Stantec, suggested or highly recommended that lot at the end of that runway, the city should probably hang on to that and only lease that property, just because there's an outside chance that someday down the road, there might be a need to control that space. But the other lots that we're talking about, the 3 that could be sold, it would be pretty remote that, the city would really have any long-term need to control that space. And I'll take the blame or the credit, whichever way you look at it, for trying to get this underway. Just from my experience, you don't have anybody knocking on your door saying, do you have a lot that I can lease and that I can build my brand-new building in and put my business on? There's just too many other options where they can own it. And maybe that's unique to Maine, I don't know, but people wanna own the ground that they're gonna put a building on. And we're really at a disadvantage on that airport road, I believe. And with conversations I've had with a few prospective businesses, in fact, we can't even really market the property with a real estate agent because a lease is just personal property. You don't have anything to really offer other than a lease or a rent.
How big are the lots? Just,
They vary in size. I don't have those sizes.
A couple acres.
Yeah.
each?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They vary in size. One's like 1.75, is one just over 2, and another one that's like 2.5.
But they're great lots, as I think you all know, with all the amenities, close to I-95, natural gas, 3-phase power, water, sewer. They've got everything, except you can't buy one.
Who owns the, what's the business there with the first one on the right-hand side?
Fastenal, Expert
Do they own
Flooring.
that lot?
Yes.
So they own that, then the next one, they own that one also? The next business,
Expert flooring?
Expert Flooring.
Is that still there?
Oh, they're in the same building.
Same building,
Yeah.
okay.
They're in the same building.
All right, but they own that
Yeah.
lot. So you think we'd be better off just potentially that we could sell those a lot easier than trying to lease them, because no one.
Well, we could still lease, but at least it gives us the flexibility. We can attract a buyer, and it would be awful nice to have some activity up there.
Mm-hmm.
As it is now, there's still a lot of other property out there. There's more property in back there that the city owns.
That,
We're gonna own the property behind them to
Yeah.
the runway type of thing.
Right.
They're not gonna have direct access.
No. There's two lots along that crosswind runway that are in between those lots and the road.
Okay.
That's all.
Any other discussion on this one? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Item number 10. The City Council will consider authorizing the Public Works Director to move forward and complete paving on more city streets as presented in attachment number 2. Councilor McLeod.
Resolve the Old Town City Council hereby authorize the Public Works Director to move forward and complete paving on city streets as presented in attachment number 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion? So there is a paving schedule. I believe this was on the finance also committee.
Yes,
that talk
that
about?
brought up for news.
Yeah.
Just,
So you guys went down through this. It looks like, according to this, there are some that that were completed.
yes.
I think I asked Bill. It seemed like the committee members that were here on the council was okay for moving forward. I think what I gathered for feedback from that meeting. Okay. All right. Hearing that, we will say all those in favor. None opposed. Thank you. Moving on to item number 11, the City Council consider authorizing the city manager to take all necessary action to purchase land and building from Chellis and Nadine Sanborn located at 2001 Bennick Road in the total amount of $140,811.60. Councilor Nuttall.
Resolve the Old Town City Council hereby authorizes the city manager to take all necessary actions to purchase land and building from Chellis and Nadine Sanborn located at 2001 Bennick Road in the total amount of $140,811.60. The council further authorizes the finance director to transfer the funds from the fund balance account number 03800 to account number 12000299 other contractual services to complete the transaction.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Linda, discussion. This is basically a housekeeping item that we need to take care of.
I have a question.
Yes.
So this transaction is going to happen immediately?
Yes.
And when will we take ownership at that point?
We've signed the paperwork already. I went back and looked, and I had forgotten from last September because we were in executive session and you said this is the price to move forward, and did so and had Eric draw up all the documents, and we've had the Sanborn sign it. And I said, I can move forward now. And then I went back and looked, and I didn't get any authorization from you folks to actually spend the money.
So you
Okay,
moved
all
forward
right.
last week.
Here I am.
All right, good.
So this is just a housekeeping item on our end. We will say
I
that.
thought I'd done that, but I had not done that.
It's okay. We got a lot going on. Any other discussion on this? Eric, we all set?
I'm just here if you have questions for me.
No, go for it.
But I have the paperwork. I anticipate we'll close in 30 days, probably a lot sooner than that.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Moving on to the last item tonight, the City Council consider going into executive session for the purpose of discussing an economic development issue relating to Expera Mill. Councilor May.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves going into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA, Section 4056C, for the purpose of discussing an economic development issue relating to the Expera Mill.
Is there a second?
Second.
EJ. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? None? And the time I have is 8:08.